How can leaders push past the overwhelm to successfully adopt and get value from AI? In today's podcast, which is part of a series in partnership with Tomorrow Zone, Deb Rubin interviews Rohan Marfatia about the critical role of AI and automation in equipment finance, strategies for overcoming adoption challenges, and the importance of collaboration and continuous learning in successfully implementing and evolving AI solutions. Rohan Marfatia is the CEO of BeRound, a smile enabling company creating a happiness ecosystem and operating at the intersection of data, AI, and customer relationship management with key partnerships like Databricks, Microsoft, and Salesforce. Rohan has partnered with some of the largest finance companies globally to drive digital transformation through software and services on varied use cases like AI predictive purchase models with robotic process automation to identify end customer behaviors to precisely time their needs with the right product and service offering. Most of you are familiar with Deb Rubin, who is the founder and CEO of Tomorrow Zone, a consulting firm inspiring both futuristic thinking and action to innovate in equipment finance and beyond. Fluent in speaking both tech and equipment finance, Tomorrow Zone partners with smart leaders to reveal the big picture, see the future state, and create roadmaps to get there. Digital transformation can be tricky. Tomorrow Zone helps you shape your future and take wise action now for short-term wins and long-term scalability. Learn more at www.tomorrowzone.io. Before Deb and Rohan begin, I want to tell you about Monitor Suite, the data, research, insights, and information to power better business decisions. There is no content resource for equipment financiers of all levels that can make this kind of weekly impact on your business and in your career. For more information, visit www.suitebymonitor.com. I also want to thank today's podcast sponsor, Stripe's Leadership Program. Stripes is the premier leadership development program for the equipment finance industry. This recently revamped 6-month program launches with a 3-day in-person program and also includes transformational business content from notable industry executives and leadership experts, individual program coaching, working cohort groups with other Stripes leaders, outcome-driven development sessions, and much more. Learn more about the program by visiting www.stripesleadership.com.
This podcast series is about exploring the human side of innovation. Today, we're diving into smart strategies for adopting intelligent automation in equipment finance. Our guest is Rohan Mafratia, CEO of BeRound, and he brings over 20 years of experience in strategic account management, business development, and executive leadership. And his journey includes driving digital transformation across a variety of industries, including financial services, and leveraging disruptive technologies like AI, the topic of the day, to deliver business value. His expertise in intelligent automation and his passion for continuous learning makes him a perfect guest to discuss a very timely topic as we explore the human side of innovation. So welcome, Rohan.
Deb, thank you so much for having me. This is great. Your podcast series, I've been tracking it. You're adding a lot of value to the equipment finance and leasing vertical. Monitor is a fantastic publication. Many years of driving innovation and contributing to the industry. So thank you very much for having me.
Before we dive into the juicy stuff, I would love to just explore a bit of your background. So could you share some highlights of your journey and what led you to what you're doing today with BeRound?
Absolutely, Deb. Yeah, I think at the start of my career, my dad advised me on the benefits of risk taking, right? I was born and raised in India, did my undergrad from there. And at one point, I had the opportunity to relocate from India to London. And I was having the heebie-jeebies, and I was like, hey, should I? It's an international move. And my dad was like, hey, you're traveling back from Pune to Ahmedabad, your hometown, once in a while. It takes you like 8 hours, right? And if you're getting a flight from London to Ahmedabad, in an equivalent amount of time, you can be back, right? So why are you thinking, right? The world is your oyster. Just go
Yeah.
ahead, take the risk, travel. So that was an important moment in my life wherein my dad told me that you have to take risks, you have to get out of your comfort zone in order to achieve something. So that travel took me to London. I spent some time over there, was lucky enough to participate in our customer British Telecom's 21st century network transformation journey. So it was $1 billion plus dollar transformation. And it was a fascinating learning experience. I got into this fast track leadership program, and then that took me to Netherlands, wherein I met my current business partner, I met my wife. So you never know, right? And it just happenstance. Life takes you to places. In hindsight, you can always connect the dots, but
Yeah,
when
it's amazing.
it just happenstance, just serendipity. It's my philosophy that when life presents you with a decision and option, you don't have to have some regrets later on, right? Go ahead and take it, see what comes about, and enjoy the journey. So the Netherlands happened. I met my current business partner over there. All these countries have had very different cultures, right? As you can imagine, working with an Englishman versus working with people in the Netherlands or working with people in the Asia Pacific, it's very different. So that was a fantastic and phenomenal experience dealing with all these cultures and working with these people, trying to close deals, open up markets for my employers and for my businesses. And then after Netherlands, US happened. I've lived in Denver, Colorado. I've lived in St. Louis, Missouri, and moved to the Bay Area. I used to work for a fairly large consulting business. Throughout this span of time, 20 years, like you mentioned, Deb, I've been lucky enough to be affiliated with technology, and I've seen it evolve from the days of kicks and COBOL and mainframes. And
Oh my
interesting,
gosh, we've seen it
role
all
I
then.
in London was for a mainframe-based system for fiber optic cables in the United Kingdom. So think about it. I was out of college, did my undergrad in electronics and communications, and here I am trying to understand a kicks and COBOL-based system. I'm not that old. I have some white hair, but the time to adapt to it, learn it in the first place, and then get ahead with that. But yeah, it's been fascinating working with large companies as well as smaller ones. I joined in the Silicon Valley a startup which was more focused around Salesforce and Microsoft partnerships. Throughout this journey, it's been the partnerships have played a key role, right? So you asked me what have been the momental or key moments defining the career. One thing stood out is partners could make more possible, right?
Mm,
There's a
hmm.
ton of potential of working with companies. I've partnered with companies like AT&T, Cisco's of the world, Google's of the world, Microsoft, Salesforce, and Databricks, whom we partner with in my current role. So talking more about what we do right now, B-Round, we like to call ourselves a smile enabling company, and we firmly believe we are building a happiness ecosystem. Uh,
Love that. A
Smile,
happiness ecosystem.
yeah, and we do that. A key facet to that is partnerships. So we are a partner of Databricks, of Microsoft, and Salesforce, and we operated the trifecta of data, AI, and CRM.
Hmm.
So more specifically, my career started in telecom, moved on into financial services and all the other verticals, regulated industries, healthcare, biotech, medtech. And these days, what we do is we enable transformation, we bring more smiles to our customers, and we do that through our partnerships across data, AI, and CRM space.
I
So that's
love that.
about me as a person, a little bit about us as a company, and what keeps us busy every day.
Very cool. I love the notion of building a happiness ecosystem. There's so many really great things in your backstory. I just love the idea of really focusing on enjoying the journey, but also just how much you can learn by exploring and collaborating with different cultures and being in different environments. It must really spark your creativity to have those things happening.
Absolutely. That's what keeps you going, right? And as you go across traveling continents and cultures, meeting different people. When I did my MBA from St. Louis, right, Washington University, Olin School of Business, we had a cohort group. And in that group, we had people from different places. There was an African American, there was a Chinese lady. I was born and raised in India. We had a few Europeans and folks from Latin America. And when we were given a set of problem to solve or a case study, I see that everyone's gears are clicking in different directions, right? They approach these problems in different ways. And that's the
Mm.
power of your individuality, your background, your life story, and your angle to problem solving, which you bring to the table. And
Yeah.
that's makes it very interesting.
Yeah, and I just love facilitating sessions where we're bringing in all of the different perspectives. It's the same way in equipment finance too. You work with a single company's team, And each person is coming from a different background, a different lens on the industry. They're speaking a slightly different language, even on the same team. And they come at problem solving in totally different ways. But when you can bring all that together, the results can be incredibly awesome. I'm so excited to talk to you more. So, I wanted to dig in today and talk about a topic that's been really hot, and it's something we've been talking about a lot in the equipment finance space, and that's intelligent automation. We hear about the buzzword AI. There's a lot of companies in the equipment finance space today that just they really want to be more efficient. We're trying to get more done with less. We want to drive down the cost of doing business, increase our ability to generate profit. And we hear all this talk about AI, but it can be confusing for a lot of people, and especially decision makers who are less technical. And I think part of the challenge is people get all caught up in a lot of the jargon around AI or intelligent automation. And so, one of the ways we've been thinking about it at Tomorrow Zone is that artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science. It deals with imitating the intelligent behavior and cognitive abilities of humans. And so we think about it as intelligent automation, but AI basically just enables machines to perform tasks that would typically require human intelligence, like logical reasoning, learning, planning, creativity. And there's all these different technical words that come along for the ride when we talk about it, whether it's machine learning, neural networks, large language models, and all of that. And that can get confusing. So I want to explore this topic, but I want to, as much as we can, leave the techno babble behind and just really talk about how do we get practical value from intelligent automation or AI. So when you think about it, what does it mean to you and why does it matter? Can you just explain what AI means to you in the context of equipment finance and why does it matter for equipment finance companies?
Deb, well said, right? Every company these days, we are living in a dynamic time. There's competition from different sources. More specifically in equipment finance, there are different models coming to being, right? Talk about equipment as a service, talk about IoT connectivity, talk about asset tracking, right? So you could be a lessor, you could be a vendor dealer partner, you could be a lessee, but across this ecosystem of equipment finance and leasing, models are changing, right? Business models are changing. Companies are trying to find out their edge. How can they compete better? How can they be more differentiated? And I think that's where technology helps you, right? You can't start with technology and try to find a business problem. I think your business problem is the starting point.
Okay.
As you are trying to compete in this market, you're trying to find your differentiator. What these technologies enable you to do is do your job better, right? Pick your focus area. If you are into equipment finance and if you're focusing on equipment as a service, how can you use AI to basically automate certain repetitive tasks which are not adding enough value, and you can free up your human brain power, right? Think about your leadership or your operational team or your sales ops, right? You can basically take ensure that they have enough time to spend on the number one goal of your organization by doing what? By automating certain menial tasks and repetitive processes.
Mhm.
What is the power of these technologies? I know it gets very confusing. Even we as practitioners who have been in the tech vertical for 20 years, right? As you attend all these conferences, do all these networking events, you catch up to one tech, and then within a month or so, there's something else which comes down and has made it obsolete, right? My
Yes.
interns,
It's
I
so
mean, the interns
fast
that
today.
we have in the company, they just graduated and we have taken them on as interns. And they're like, hey, Rohan, we just graduated recently. And what we have learned as a part of our 2-year program in data science and analytics and AI, it's already obsolete, right? And when they
Yes.
get access to all these tools in our warehouse, when they work on technologies like Databricks, Microsoft AI, OpenAI, Salesforce, Einstein, their mind is blown. They're like a kid in a candy store and they're like, hey, they didn't teach all of this in our university days, right? So coming back to your question, it becomes supremely important because every company, they're competing, and this is the age of AI, and you have to use automation to do your tasks better. and to focus on your core objective. Otherwise, someone else is eating your lunch and you're going to be left behind.
Yes. So I think as we talk about this in industry level conversations, what I'm hearing is a lot of leaders get it. They're like, okay, I get it. We need to automate, we need digital, we need to adopt it, but we don't even know where to begin. And so for companies that are just beginning to explore AI or the possibilities of bringing intelligent automation into their companies, what are some smart first steps that they should take? And you mentioned it begins with the problem. How do they identify the right problems to solve or the processes to automate?
I think start small, right? Identify areas where you can drive meaningful changes to your end customer experience. One example I would want to drive specifically in the equipment finance space, one of our customers. So they were trying to time the exact positioning of what they are trying to sell within equipment finance and leasing to their end customer based on where they are in their life cycle. So identify those big bucket areas, whether it is customer experience or repetitive tasks and stuff, and then start small. I mean, experiment, tinker with it. Try to use partners. That has been a theme of our discussion so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
Partner indeed can make more possible. So instead of trying to figure it out yourself, work with experts in the area, right? Dabble, tinker with stuff, have a 2 week cycle, right? Micro sprints or whatever. I mean, the whole sprint
Mm-hmm.
itself is now changing, right? There are no 2 week sprints. The AI, you can have a 1 hour or a 1 day sprint, right? You
Yeah.
can from start to finish in a shorter span of time. So the IT models are also changing. So start identify the big bucket areas, first of all, whether it is your end customer experience or whatnot, and then start small in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Tinker with, find a partner, right? Find a good partner who can help you in this journey and bring those things to action, right? The worst case scenario is you'll learn something from it. The best case scenario is you'll meaningfully drive change to your customer's expectation and you'll lead to a stellar customer experience. The friction is in starting, right? Like we always say, the first step is the key. Once you make that step, everything else is fine. But if
Yes.
you do a lot of analysis paralysis and that prohibits you from making the start, you're not going anywhere.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. As soon as we can get started in this exploration, you can get momentum. One of the things you were saying is find a partner, start experimenting, start small and learn. And I love how you said the worst case is you learn something. One of the things we talk about a lot is in Silicon Valley, we hear the catchphrase fail forward fast, but in finance, we at least our team, we like to say, let's learn forward fast. And so we think big, start small, learn forward fast. And a lot of the times that is through hands-on experimentation. I'm just asking, like, what's possible now? What could we do with this? Where are the problems that are worth solving and applying technology to see what can we do to solve that? You mentioned that you are doing some of this with your equipment finance customers. When you do identify a problem that you could solve by applying intelligent automation, what are some of the common challenges that you see with finance companies when they're implementing, and how have you overcome these hurdles?
I think with every technology, Deb, there's some skepticism and people tend to be afraid of change, right? There are dynamics around here. They would be like, hey, I mean, if it can automate 3 hours of my job, right? I'm doing certain things. I'm downloading a particular file. I'm uploading a particular Salesforce report. I'm creating some tasks, some leads and whatnot. Hey, if the bot can do 2 hours worth of my day job, maybe it can do 8 hours worth of my day job. And then what do I do? So these are the kind of questions
Yeah.
that come to mind. But I would say it's the leadership's job to enforce. That's the wrong way to view it, right?
Mhm.
It's always going to be human plus AI, human plus automation, right? There will always be edge case scenarios. You want to spend quality time along the core purpose of your company, whatever it is. It might be equipment as a service, it might be something else, right? And what would enable you to do that is when you free up time from your operational tasks, from your day to day job, doing the repetitive stuff, right? So that is a key message change management, right? To ensure that people are able to adapt to the change, they recognize it. And in fact, it's the leadership's job to drive competition and turn the table around, right? So instead of asking people, hey, Deb, what's a good use case to drive automation, right? Make it so that people and the departments come to you with enough use cases that, hey, we understand that the rallying cry of the company is to go behind this particular notion or this particular motion from a strategy standpoint. And for me to do that, I have to absolutely free up time from all my other tasks, which I'm doing and my other team is
Mm-hmm.
doing. So here, from a back office standpoint, right, there could be multiple use cases in the back office, right? Invoice automation, right? The lease processes, credit scoring,
Mm-hmm.
management. So these
Payment
are
application, figuring out which invoice to apply the payment to is one that we've already seen.
absolutely. So I think these are the challenges which come about. And again, I would go back to the fact that find a partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are two parts to it. One is your internal part where the leadership has to enforce the culture of constant change and driving innovation. And the other is to have these ecosystems in place. So in our case, for example, from an automation standpoint, Deb, we closely work with companies like Salesforce and MuleSoft. And I think they have a fantastic product. So if you talk about robotic process automation, MuleSoft RPA, it's an amazing product.
Mm-hmm.
And when you combine the fact that the orchestration of systems across systems, the API management, and the robotic process automation, and if you drive it along with AI and analytics, it becomes a very powerful story. So that's where
Mm-hmm.
you bring in value as a partner, and not just a partner, an ecosystem of partners, right? So now you will have B Round plus Salesforce together acting as your right hand in driving AI and automation across your org if you are an equipment finance company. So use that, right? Leverage that, right? Work with partners like Tomorrow Zone. So I think that is the recurring theme. That's how we would drive change. That's how you would rally the team together and make more happen.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that you bring up a really good point. You don't have to struggle trying to figure this all out yourself. There are a lot of great partners out there that you can work with and achieve a lot of these objectives pretty quickly. You raised a concern earlier, and it comes up a lot in these conversations when we talk about automating processes. We often hear concerns about job displacement. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is not only understanding what are the use cases for applying intelligent automation, and there are a lot of different capabilities of AI that you can explore and figure out where could it fit into your business. But I think there's a big myth out there that AI replaces jobs. But actually, when we really think about it, these capabilities can replace tasks within jobs, but jobs are like a bucket for a whole bunch of different types of tasks that fit together in interesting ways. And so there's a lot of education that needs to happen there. But you mentioned that it's the leader's job to address this. So how could leaders in equipment finance address these concerns and ensure smooth transitions for their workforce when they do want to bring in automation for different areas of the business? That is a really huge fear.
I think it's a valid fear and a valid concern. And if as an individual, we don't act on it, we don't consistently learn and improve ourselves, we would also be obsolete.
Oh.
So if a job loss happens, it's not because your job got taken up by a bot. It's because you did not decide to upskill yourself, to learn these new technologies and figure out how you can add value to not just your own ecosystem, but your employer and where you operate. It could be somewhere within the whole finance chain. So I think the important bit over here is it's real, right? You can resist the change, but it's
Mhm.
happening as we speak. You have to get onto the bandwagon. You have to learn and upskill yourself, right? Throughout my 20-year career, I have been lucky to participate in some or the other program and be affiliated with some or the other university almost every alternate year. right? So after finishing my undergrad, I was there with this consulting company for 13 years. And out of those 13 years, I got through University College London. I went through to a program of Accelerate Jamshedpur. There was a program in Indonesia, which I attended. I did my MBA from Olin School of Business. I'm doing a course from California Science and Technology University on emerging technologies and AI. So you have to. That's the fact of life these days,
Yeah.
right? They're moving
Yeah.
fast. So I think people get it. And I think those who are going to lose their jobs, it's not to AI, but it's to the fact that they didn't upskill themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
Right?
that you
Don't
bring up a
miss
good
time.
point. It's
Yeah,
intentional. You have to take ownership of your learning journey.
exactly. And I think that's the reinforcement that leaders can provide because everyone is excited. When you get a chance to tinker around with Claude or a GPT or with OpenAI, right? It's exciting stuff, right? Everyone
Oh,
is
yeah.
getting intrigued with it. They want to tinker with it. And I attended a conference, Data and AI Summit last week. And now they're talking about things wherein you have AI, BI, technologies like Genie, and you can have access to your own organization's data in a chat GPT like interface,
Hmm.
right? Power of that. And you have a co-pilot for doing your job. Why don't you make
Yeah.
use? Why do you want to do the
Yeah.
heavy thing?
Well, that takes a whole new way of thinking about the world of work, even back to your whole journey in your career. And you talked about the power of collaboration. And I just think that when we are working with AI, especially with these large language models, these chat interface type of tools, it's a collaboration. We're working on a demo for our new workshop, which is all about helping non-technical leaders to map out AI potential across their organization by identifying those business problems that are worth solving and then reimagining business processes with AI in the mix. And so we were collaborating with Claude just today and building out a fictitious company that we could model to use in our demo. And it was just amazing, but it is a collaboration. It's not like the software of the past where you know exactly what you're going to do and you can read a manual to do it. It's very conversational and discovery driven. It gives me an answer and then that sparks new questions for me. And then I can guide it and ask it new things to give me different results incredibly fast. And I remember back in my product management days, I modeled an equipment finance company for an origination platform. And it took months to do manually what we were doing this morning. So it's mind blowing. You talked about the importance of collaboration in terms of partnership, but as you're working with equipment finance companies to bring in this AI capability, how does collaboration play a role in a successful implementation and adoption?
I think that's a great question. With any of these technologies, so there are different phases, right? So you have to evaluate the use case first, then you have to design it, then you have to implement that particular use case with technology, whether you're talking about robotic process automation with a partner like MuleSoft or Salesforce or UiPath or what have you. And then there's a very long operate phase as well, right? Wherein you have that thing in action, but then it will consistently face edge cases and scenarios.
Mhm.
That's where the collaboration and the partnership comes in. Once the thing is live, a lot of these SaaS companies, software as a service companies, and tech platforms, they are also not just sitting tight, right? They're also changing the product. They are also enhancing it.
Mhm.
Every month or every 3 months, there might be a new release. Now you have to enhance the deployment to be capable enough and to upgrade it to the latest release. And that might open up new avenues as well.
Mm, mhm.
That's where those partnerships come into play. So I might have implemented a MuleSoft RPA, but if the RPA itself has changed from version 1 to version 2, and there are now intelligent documentation capabilities or scanning capabilities or vision, various other cognitive services, then I would be stupid if I'm not using that, right? And if I'm not bringing it
Mhm.
out to my customers in equipment finance. So that's where a partnership with, say, between B Round and Salesforce would be crucial. And we
Yeah.
work very closely with these product companies and their product teams to relay the fact that, hey, this is what we are facing in the industry. So on one hand, they also enhance their platform. And on the other hand, once the platform is enhanced, we are able to again work with the equipment finance company to implement it
Mhm.
to improve the use case further. So that's the power of collaboration and partnership.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing it up in that part of the life cycle, because a lot of times we talk about how important collaboration is in understanding the problem to solve, in implementing it for the first time, but you're talking about the ongoing care and feeding of this new capability, and I think it really ties back to that intentional continuous learning that you were talking about. And you do need to continue to upskill and stay on top of the new capabilities and the new possibilities. But when you partner with somebody, that's their day-to-day focus, it can accelerate your ability to stay on top of those new possibilities and stay on top of the trends and take advantage of what you've invested in.
Absolutely did. Absolutely. Yeah. You summarized it well. Yeah.
One of the things that we love to explore is not only what's possible now, but what's next. So, if we were to just look ahead a little bit, what emerging trends or technologies in this space should equipment finance professionals be aware of and pay attention to? What's coming next?
No, every tech provider or every equipment finance company that is using one of these tech providers, right? They have to adapt their product or their business flows to make them more consumer and customer friendly, right? The experience is going to be the key, customer experience. I don't want to wait hours and days. I want to have that instant gratification. If there is a decision that to be made from a credit standpoint, it better happen fast. And the company that is going to be able to do that faster is going to get my business, right? So
Mhm.
I think while we should focus on the core business, what happens next, what to expect in the future is even more stellar customer experiences.
Oh,
So we are going to see more customer satisfaction is going to become a big thing. I don't want dated experiences. I don't want the same way of doing business that used to happen since the last 25, 30, 40 years in equipment finance. I am tired of waiting, right? I'm tired of a poor customer experience. And if Deb's company or someone else's company is offering a stellar customer experience, I'm going to take my business to them, right?
mhm.
Well, that's the future. I think these technologies are enabling us to offer stellar customer experiences. They are enabling us to do things better, faster, cheaper. They are enabling us to do things in a more accurate way. They are enabling us to eliminate human error. They are enabling humans to be more empowered and be in control of these technologies, right, as the front end, right? So they are upskilling us as well. So it's going to be a exciting time, Deb. We are blessed to be living in this time of change and of technological advancement. ML ops is going to be a big thing. LLM ops is going to be a big thing. And every equipment finance company is going to try to become a tech company, right?
Mm,
To offer stellar customer experience to their end customers.
love it. I agree with you. This is an amazing time to be alive, especially if you're a tech enthusiast. There is one last question I wanted to ask you that I ask all of my guests in this podcast series. What is one thing that leaders can do today to shape a better tomorrow?
That's a great question. And Deb, I think one thing that the leaders can do to shape a better tomorrow is to drive innovative ways to adopt change, right? Because change is constant. Things are changing dramatically around us. How can you be innovative in embracing change?
Oh,
That's one area which can manifest in different ways, even upskilling people, adopting these new technologies. Like I was telling you in an example, right? Instead of soliciting asks for use cases, how can you have competition for use cases, right? Then suddenly your accounting and finance department can bring up 50 different use cases. And then the other teams will wonder if they have 40 use cases and we don't have even one, then we are left behind, right?
Mm,
So you
mhm.
have kind of fostered a sense of competition to embrace change,
I
right? So you're
love that.
at the table, and then you have implemented it in a different way. So I think that would be one last comment I want to make to your question of how to shape a better tomorrow.
I
Find a
love that.
way to embrace change.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. And we're going to wrap with that.
Thank you so much, Deb, for having me. It was a pleasure.